Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is it, Monday Night in America, trekking across the universe. Don't know which one it is. Folks, we're just going to get to it. I want to welcome everyone in the chat room. Thank you. Give us your likes, give us your love, your subscriptions. But this is one of the best moments that we've been able to have here on NDB Media as we begin our 15th year on air. Oh, good God, 15 years. Yeah, we've been on for a little while. Folks, that's Michael. We'll have Aaron introduce himself in a moment. But the star of the program, he is a great soul. This is the fourth time that he's been on with us. We're so looking forward to have a conversation. We're going to be talking about a lot of things tonight. Folks, don't worry in the chat room. Fire off your questions, your comments. We're going to get to it. But John Billingsley, the man of the hour. Good evening, John. How are you? And once again, thank you for joining us.
So now that I've gotten my punch card punched 4 times, I get a free scone. Is that correct?
Hell yeah, you'll get more than a free scone. Yes, sir.
More than a free scone?
Yes,
wow.
You might have a coffee to go along with that.
Don't overpromise. Let me get the scone first.
Okay, we'll make it happen, John. We will.
Right.
That's going to be good. All right.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough. John, you're in Southern California this weekend, are you not?
I am indeed.
Okay, so I'm east of you. I'm in I'm in Pomona.
Well, you're in my bedroom? What do you mean you're east of me? Are you...
Oh, there we go. Very good. We're doing spatially, yes. I'm actually looking at you, John. I'm looking west at downtown LA.
It's a little stalkerish to say you're east of me. All right.
NDB Media. We are the stock.
Uh-oh, you froze.
Oh, we lost him.
I've broken Roger. Now let's start on you.
Yeah, I know.
Michael, all right.
Terrible.
Soon it's just going to be down to you and me, Aaron. There he is. He's back again.
Am I still frozen?
Nope, you're unfrozen.
No, you're not frozen.
You're unfrozen.
Okay. Now. Michael is in Washington, D.C. And Aaron, young man, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. Hello. For those who don't know me, my name's Aaron Vanderclay. I'm a fan filmmaker from Western Australia, the west coast of Australia.
Like Perth?
It's in Perth. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful Perth.
Yeah. Have you been?
I have.
Oh, I must have missed you.
I've been around. I'm old. I've been around.
But yeah, it's 10:03 a.m. here. It's a sunny day. Can see the bush out the window.
That kind of goes without saying there, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 10:03 Tuesday morning, right?
It is. I'm in the future, so I know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Nice to meet you, Aaron.
Nice to meet you as well.
It is really cool for John and I. It's about 6 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, and Michael's on the East Coast, so he's 3 hours ahead of us, but Aaron's ahead of everyone. So, folks, we have a lot we're going to get to, and once again, everyone in the chat room, just go ahead and let us know. John, I do apologize. We were having a wonderful conversation.
We just got started. You're apologizing already? What have you done?
But I had to get in there. We did not tell you about our private chat. Should we need to communicate indirectly, where we don't want to say it on air, you have a little thing that says private chat. I'm going to write in test. You should see it light up somewhere, and that's how we can send messages to each other. And you know the drill. When you're tired of me, you say, I've had it. I'm out, guys.
I will say that publicly. I don't need to go private for that.
Oh, yeah, you have, which is cool.
Perfectly comfortable saying, that's it, no mas, enough, I'm hungry, see you later. Private
yes,
chat.
I just want to see how many martinis you're going to have this time.
Private chat. Well, my wife's getting home in a few minutes, and she said she was going to bring me a martini down. So we shall see if that materializes.
Excellent.
I don't know why. I should have made it before I got on the air with you guys, and it slipped my mind for some reason. I can't believe it.
Hey, it's all
because
good.
Of the whole damn time change thing. It doesn't feel like cocktail hour yet.
Right. And as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, the first time you were on with us, it was at 8 o'clock and then probably 7. So this is the earliest we've ever had you on, John. But dude, sir, you're one of the hardest working men in Hollywood. You do so much. You've been in so many movies, so many programs, and you still are doing a lot of stuff. But you, in addition to what you do...
First, let me say that's a tissue of lies. I'm definitely not the hardest working actor in Hollywood. I only work a few times a year. Most of the times I just sit on my ass and read big, thick novels. So, but that's all right. I appreciate the praise. It's lovely. It's completely unearned, but I appreciate it.
Well, that's twice. I've already been bitch slapped in the first 5 minutes, so I'm all right with this.
All right. It always is interesting to hear people describe you as somebody who's working all the time. It's like I am. Well, I haven't had a job in months. You crazy?
And that's fair, John. But you seem to be in everything.
It's the reruns.
Okay, well, that's
Reruns.
fair.
Nobody wants an old fat balding four-eyed guy anymore. God damn it. Old fat.
Oh man.
That's, as I think I've mentioned now on a number of podcasts, this is my idea for a show. Old fat Phlox. Old fat Phlox. He opens every episode. He's just rocking in his chair. Well, back in the day when I was a doctor on Enterprise, all sorts of things happened. Like there was at one time. Then you have the flashback music. Have a bunch of young actors running around in their underpants. Then it comes back to me at the end of the hour. Well, there it is. Stay tuned next week for another episode of Old Fat Phlox. And I'm number one on the call sheet. I cash a big check. I only have to work like 20 minutes one day a week. And yet no one picks that show up. I do not understand it.
Well, someone's going to have to notice it. Hopefully we'll be able to get it to the powers that be at CBS and Paramount. You never know, John.
Old Fat Phlox. If you're listening to Paramount, Old Fat Phlox.
I think it would work. Look, they have Prodigy and Lower Decks, John. I see that.
We got Star Trek coming out of our ears at the moment, so
I know. Yeah. I don't want to actually have to wear the rubber head again that much, but I would wear it for one day a week if I didn't have to get out of the rocking chair.
That would work.
Would you do a voiceover on one of the animated shows if you were allowed to?
I would definitely do a voiceover. But here's an illustration. Do you know the show Orville?
Mm-hmm.
I was on Orville.
That's right, you were. Yes.
Bob Picardo because he's Bob Picardo. Me, I had to audition. And I didn't even think when I auditioned, they knew that I had played Phlox. I imagine at some point, my audition tape hits Seth MacFarlane's desk. He goes, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Okay. But it's not like anybody comes knocking at my door saying, oh, my gosh, John, we want you. Anyway, just not to burst your bubble, Roger, but I'm an old retired bum sitting around just waiting for the next podcast to start.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, John, I may be joining you shortly. I'm probably going to be leaving my regular job sometime in January, so I'll be retired myself, but a little
you're
earlier.
Retiring by choice. I've been forced into retirement by the powers that be. That's a whole different world.
Well, I'm not about to admit anything until I'm actually gone, so we'll leave it at that. It's not about me, John, and I thank you. But John, you've got something. Before we get into some other stuff,
I'm clearly just stopping you from asking a question because this always amuses me to see whether or not I can do a whole interview without ever allowing the interviewer to actually get a question asked. This is always intriguing to me. So keep going. Go ahead.
No, you've done it, John. The second episode that you were on with us, it was all you, buddy, and we love you for it. Right. And we're eternally grateful that you're here.
I want you to get at least one question in tonight.
John, Michael, what did I say?
I know, and I'm going to throw some. I'm thinking I just read something, and it makes me wonder if this is in reference to that movie that you were in. That's in post-production. I think your character name was Chunky. Does that ring a bell, or am I totally wrong?
No, I think that might be a movie that a very nice young man made for about $17.
Okay.
About a guy, and it was actually a very charming script, which is why I said I'd happily do it, because I thought it was quite well written. But it's a guy who has a robot girlfriend, and he is somewhat on the autism spectrum. I believe I play a somewhat menacing boss of a private poker room. Unfortunately, when a movie is made for $16, there are lots of problems, and so it's been in post, I think, for several years now.
Oh, okay.
So I don't look for that at your neighborhood multiplex. Put it that way. I did just wrap a few episodes of a mini series on Apple called MANHUNT, although it might be going under the name of PAX Peace, and it's about the hunt for Lincoln's assassins. And it was kind of interesting. Period piece shot in Savannah. Probably comes out on Hulu in the beginning part of next year. But other than that, it's been pretty quiet. Although I'm all joking aside, my wife and I are kind of quasi demi retired. We're happy to work. We're happy to not work. I spend a lot of my time and my energy volunteering for the Hollywood Food Coalition, and which we can talk about later. So my Thespin these days is far between.
Aaron, did you have anything that you wanted to ask? Or
Oh, I just wanted, while we're talking about the Hollywood Food Coalition, I just wanted to know how you got started in that.
Yeah, well, the Hollywood Food Coalition is a little under 40 years old, and it was started as street service for people experiencing homelessness. After the 2016 election here in the U.S., when Trump won, I was, as many other lefties, and I'm a lefty, were pretty distraught. So I wanted to find some way to engage in the society I lived in a way that felt, more aggressive. So did a bunch of different things, volunteered for some political campaigns, but really wanted to kind of give back in a more tangible way. Started volunteering for this organization, which basically served hot multi-course meals to all comers 7 nights a week. Really fell in love with their ethos, with their volunteer group, and with the level of kindness and compassion they showed to people in need. They didn't necessarily have as carefully elaborated a structure when it came to board, and they didn't have a staff, and they didn't really have a business plan or a strategic plan going forward. So, and not that I'm any great expert, but I thought I'm going to kind of put everything else in the back burner and just say, hey, I'll give my life to you for a few years, and let me see if I can help. So my wife and I really just dove in, and it's been a huge part of our life. It's grown. We're doing more than we ever have. We now rescue about 2 million pounds of food a year, and we share it with about 100 to 130 other not-for-profits to help buttress and augment their meal programs all over Los Angeles. And we work with a lot of other cool groups to try and figure out, like, what are some systemic problems that we can only solve collectively? Like, we need more refrigeration space. We need more transportation capacity. We need to get food from a grocery store to a table fast. How do we do that? Et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, a big part of my life.
Without
And
taking
so
Aaron's...
sorry, go on.
No,
Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, with what happened with COVID, especially in the States, how did that affect the way that you delivered food to people?
It actually peculiarly allowed us to do a lot because, one, a ton of money started chasing hunger. People realized, our government realized, that a lot of people were going to be in great need. Restaurants shut down. Farms started producing less. So we took advantage of some of the government largesse, and we kind of really bumped the ante up in terms of how much food we were saving and how aggressive we were going to be about getting it out into the community. And in a way, I'd say our program, which up until then was kind of centered on rescuing food from studios, TV shows, film shoots, what have you, we moved it into a different world where we were picking up from farm to table programs, grocery stores, restaurant supply companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it kind of shifted the model, but it allowed us to rescue a lot more too.
You started with friends and family with this program, right, John?
How do you mean I started with friends and family?
No, I'm sorry. While this program, at times, it was on a small, where you mentioned before we went live that you started out collecting from friends and family at certain hours of the day, right?
That's something that's somewhat different in that, well preceding my work with the Hollywood Food Coalition. It's always been an interest. I mean, I've always kind of volunteered in different ways. So for a number of years, I worked with an organization called the AIDS Service Center, which was designed to try and provide people who had HIV/AIDS related issues with a whole variety of things. I started rescuing food as actually an effort to help buttress their food bank. And what we did, my wife and I, was we called everybody we could think of, and we said, hey, over the course of the next 2 days, we're going to be driving around the city picking up grocery bags of food. If you want to participate, let us know and give us a window when you'd be able to make those bags available, and we will map out our route so as to make sure you're on our pickup route. So we would rescue cars of food and bring it over to the AIDS Service Center's food bank. And I actually also think this is, if anybody's hearing this and is interested in doing something without necessarily joining an organization, I think that's a great way to spend a weekend. It's pretty simple. Call all your pals, enlist them to do, a couple of bags. If the food bank has the capacity to actually accept things like milk, meat, perishables, you don't have to necessarily limit it to the usual canned goods and staples. Check with the food bank first. I guarantee you there is a church or a food pantry or some organization in your community that could use this food. It could be toys, it could be books, it could be clothing, but it's using your network of friends to actually help your community.
That's good to know, John. I appreciate that. It's something close to my heart too. I mentioned some of my involvement, but I'm glad that you do so. And a lot of people don't get it. There is need in Hollywood where there's a lot of money, right, John? And they don't know the need in that area.
There's need everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the world we live in. And I, on a look, I got serious. Look what you've done. You've gotten me get all serious.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's quite all right. Even a stopped clock is serious twice a day. One of my great beliefs is that people are good-hearted, and we live in a world in which, unfortunately, some folks have desires to foment strife and to foment upset by picking at the worst part of us. Getting us mad at each other for dumbass reasons, usually related to race, creed, or color. I think what binds us together is something that relates to our instinct towards compassion and to giving back. And I kind of am, if I'm passionate about anything above and beyond the Food Coalition, it's the idea that every one of us can just kind of maybe think about dialing up what I suspect we're already doing, which is behaving virtuously in our communities, to just dial it up a little bit. What is it that you are already engaged in that you might give more of yourself to? Or if you're somebody who's still kind of searching for your volunteer bliss, maybe just kind of do a little, deep dive into what's available in your community. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just figure out who's doing cool shit that appeals to you and kind of join them. And that could be all sorts of things, from, mentoring children, volunteering to teach people how to read, doing the kind of rescue work that, again, doesn't even demand you join a group, picking up trash on the beach. There are all sorts of ways that you can just kind of like give a little bit more of yourself. And I think it's something that I care more about than any particular individual organization.
Thank you, John. Not wanting to steal Aaron's thunder, because I know he took us in that direction, but there's a big event for this coming up early next year.
Yes, as one of the things that I was the board president of the Hollywood Food Coalition. I've stepped down from that role, and now I help to chair the development committee. And one of the things that my partner, David Livingston, who's also a board member, and for those of you who know your Star Trek, he's directed more episodes of Star Trek than any other director in the history of Star Trek. He and I, in collaboration with some fabulous folks, did something last year called Trek Talks. And it was essentially a virtual telethon, Jerry Lewis-esque muscular dystrophy type telethon, with 50 or so Star Trek guests. We had panels, we had fabulous lively discussions, and we raised about $80,000 for the Food Coalition. We're doing that again this year, January 14. Trek Talks 2, 8 hours, cool guests, great panels, entertainment, some videos interspersed that kind of talk about the work that the Hollywood Food Coalition does. You can kind of keep apprised of the guests as we begin to flesh out our panels on Trek Talk. Shit, now I forgot it. Trek Talk. What did I say it was? Trek Talks?
Yeah, Trek Talks.
TrekTalks.net. Oh, acronyms run around in my head. Because I was also going to say, or go check us out at hofoco.org, HOFOCO.org.
And as a matter of fact, we have that one on the Chiron at the bottom. I'm looking for the Trek Talks, and I'm going to put that link up as well.
Fabulous.
That's it's good to know. So January 14th, 2023, we're going to remind our audience.
And that starts
we're looking
10 a.m. Pacific time here in the U.S. and runs to 6 o'clock Pacific time. So you can translate it into your own time frame.
I know Aaron will work that out.
I don't know when the hell that is.
I'll be there. Yeah.
I don't know when that is.
Yeah. Michael, do you have a question right now? Okay,
What?
I ambushed you.
Well, of course you did. That's normal. Since I think a lot of our audience are Star Trek fans, what was your most memorable, or should I say, what episode you enjoyed doing the best in Enterprise? Or is that too hard of a question and it's been too long?
I mean, there are three that come to mind. I mean, obviously I was at number 7 on the call sheet, the little song I used to sing a jillion times. Day off, 6 days off, and the check will come. So I was not always utilized tremendously. So the episodes where I had more to do are the ones that kind of stand out for me. The first one would have been in season 1, Dear Doctor, and that's the first episode that they used me quite a bit. It's a memorable one for me for that reason, because it's the first episode where I really kind of began to feel like I'm, given a chance to get inside the skin of the guy. A Night in Sick Bay was a sort of a little lighthearted episode that I got to spend a lot of time in with Scott, who I didn't have a chance to act a ton with, and that was great fun. And probably you learned more about the Denobulan culture and the Denobulan backstory in that episode than in any other we did. So I appreciated that. And then an episode, the name of which is escaping me, in which I ran around the ship naked. And I appreciated that because I got to run around the ship naked. I was alone on the ship. Basically, everybody else was in suspended animation. It was in season 3. We were going to be taking the ship through a spatial anomaly,
radiation belt or something.
Yeah, and for convenient reasons, only Denobulans were impervious to the ion beams. So everybody else is knocked out. I have the ship to myself, and of course something goes wrong, and I have to figure out how to save the day all by myself. Oh, the dog was still there. The dog did shit when it came down to it, though. It's like I saved the day by myself. I conjured in my imagination. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched this episode, plug your ears. I conjured Jolene in my head, and I created a fantasy in which she was not knocked out. She was around to give me advice, but I did it myself.
Doctor's orders.
Save the day, save the motherfucking universe is what I did.
That's right.
Doesn't mean my residuals are any higher, though.
Well, that's too bad.
I believe the episode is Doctor's Orders.
That sounds right. That sounds right. All the titles sound the same to me. I also quite like the episode Similitude, which is not exactly the question you asked, but if there are episodes that I thought above and beyond whether I had a lot to do in them, actually were strong episodes of our show. That is one. Cogenitor is another one. Both of those were more Trip-centric episodes. I like the episode where Trip got pregnant. I think a lot of our best episodes kind of revolved around Trip. On the other hand, the one where he was stuck in the slime with the woman who now has a cooking show, Padma Lakshmi, that probably was the worst single episode of Star Trek ever made. And I don't blame Padma Lakshmi herself, although she's a better cook than she is an actress. But that was one stinker of an episode. I figure she's probably not watching this. Who am I to insult Padma?
Well, we'll know if she is pretty soon.
Yeah, you don't know you couldn't cook your way out of a paper bag.
No, I don't think I have written her to be on the show yet. So.
Ask nobody.
There's a good chance she may join us in the future. We've been really fortunate. Aaron, I know you're dying to get in, brother. Tell me, just get in.
Well, one of my questions was, I guess, what attracted you to the role of Phlox?
They were willing to pay me. They were willing to pay
paycheck, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much. If you're a character actor, it's not like you've got tons of offers kind of getting thrown over your transom. You ain't picking and choosing. It's pilot season. When you're younger, you have a little bit more opportunities. So it was towards the end of pilot season. It was the last thing I was asked to audition for. I thought, got through that pilot season, didn't book anything. They don't give you the script. They just give you the sides. I knew nothing about the show. I didn't know that much about Star Trek, other than, of course, that it was, cultural phenomenon. I will say that I think my what I responded to in the character, and I did respond right away, was his sense of ebullience and his sense of jubilance. I mean, to me, Phlox goes on this voyage fully expecting to die, and that's okay. It's like, I had a great run. I want to be part of this, and if I get blown out of the sky, so it goes. So I think he had a certain amount of esprit that I really appreciated. And since many of the characters I've played in my career are horrible child molesters and serial killers, it was a rather refreshing change of pace. Be a jolly space alien.
Yeah, no kidding. And rumor has it in one episode of True Blood, you fornicated with the tree, but I'm not going to go back to that one.
A large tree. Now, in fairness, everybody in our community was fornicating because a demoness had us all under her thrall. So I was only one of the fornicators. I do think I was the most exuberant fornicator, however.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why, oddly, people do kind of talk about that season. I think it's because I put the F in fornicating.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Aaron, stay in there, brother. I know you have quite a few more questions. I know you do. Go for it.
So my next question is, in the series Bible, in the sides, in the script, it says that Dr. Phlox is supposed to have a distinct alien accent or a slight alien accent.
Yes,
I know you've told this story hundreds of times, but how did that change and how did that evolve?
Hundreds of times, yes. Well, slight alien accent, so you get the sides, and I go to my wife and say, "Got an audition tomorrow. I have to have a slight alien accent. Let me try a bunch of funny voices out at you, and you tell me when one doesn't stink." So a lot of them stunk, and the one that you eventually heard, which was kind of had a little bit of a lilt at the end, that was maybe a little bit like had a touch of the East to it, like a touch of an Indian accent. She said, "I'd go with that one." I said, "I don't know if it's alien enough, though. You know what I think I might do is I might squawk." The idea that he on his home planet is a bird, and in moments of joyous transport, he kind of just can't suppress the squawk. Maybe I'll do that. So I did that. So I did the audition, and I got the job. It was like, oh, guess I'm a bird. And they don't make me look like a bird. They don't give me makeup that makes me look like a bird. Nobody tells me I should be a bird. I don't even know up until the very first day we're shooting. Am I a bird? Is anybody going to tell me I'm a bird? I'm doing research. I'm thinking, should I be flapping? So the very first setup that I'm in the first rehearsal, he calls action. The director, Jim Conway. I go blah 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 blah. I'm a little more tentative than that because at this point I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It's like. And Jim Conway said, "John, quit fucking around," which is how I knew I was not a bird. That story has a little more to it, but I have gotten very good at compressing that story into a smaller box. I actually had to go to network. I had to go to a table read. There are any number of occasions when I squawked and nobody fucking said anything. It was like, you had plenty of occasions.
Yeah. That's kind of insane, really.
I thought it was kind of insane too. I even said to Brick and Brannon at the first table read when we all met each other, it was like, so at the end of a table read, and I squawked. I said, "So guys, am I a bird?" And they kind of went, Rick and Brannon are very inscrutable cats. Rick and Brannon both kind of like, they kind of looked up in the air a little bit and they went, But I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. I'm either a bird or I'm not a bird. I don't know what to do with that. So, yeah, I think that they, I've always meant to ask, were you just fucking yanking my chain or did you not know? I should have known when they didn't give me any feathers, It's like
so somewhere in a Paramount vault is that first take of you squawking that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Or my audition tape, which I believe, is also somewhere in the vault, which I would be delighted to see that. Because the first time I went in, I was like committed to the squawk. I mean, it was like I probably even did a little
How much did you practice the squawk? Quite a bit?
I don't remember clearly how much prep time I had. Usually you get a couple of days before you can go in if you're auditioning for a series regular role or a significant part. So I probably had a few days of prep. And And it varies widely because sometimes you may have a few days, but you may have a couple of auditions, and you kind of have to pick and choose which one you think you might have the best whack at, where you're going to devote your time. So, I've gone in like hyper prepared, done great auditions and crickets, and then I've gone in feeling like I don't have that much of a purchase on this, and you get the job. So nowadays you don't go in at all. Of course, now it's all in video, so which I've been sad about. But
so you would prefer to go in live?
I would, for one thing, just candidly, they can't see as many people. I mean, right now, if it's about submit your tape, and you don't know whether or not they are even watching, they could, watch and 5 seconds in, say, no, pass. I believe the casting community, the casting directors do watch everything, and they send on a relatively smaller number. So I'm not saying this is a blanket statement that people just blow you off, but I've heard from enough people in the industry that, sometimes when the producers are watching, they'll turn it off right away if they don't think you're right for it. In the room, they've got to watch your motherfucking ass.
Because you're there.
Because you're there. And even if you're not right for the part, you can make a good impression. And you can also take an adjustment, which is the other thing that I really miss about putting a tape forward. When you put a tape forward, you may have just missed it. Or it may be, I'd love to see the guy do it again and just take this direction. Or he missed this one beat. When you get a note in the room, if you can do it right away, that's actually something that, to me, separates the men from the boys. Actors who can take a note right away with a minimum of fuss are actors that you want to hire. And all of that is, unperceivable when it's just tape submitted.
Do you think it also, because of everything is, as you said, online or tapes, as you said, when you were there, you could adjust when you're in front of them. Do you think now that, because I've heard from other actors that I know that they have gone in for a certain role with a director or a producer, and they've gotten another job because they remembered that audition?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely think that happens. And, there's also just a certain kind of frisson because it's a lot. I mean, let me say this. There was a time when the producers and the director were usually in the room. You get a certain frisson there. It's like a live performance. Then there were fewer producers and directors in the room, in part because people were, shooting on location, and you were just going in to audition for the casting director. So some of that frisson was drained away, but you still got the adjustment, and you still, I think there's a little bit of tension that comes from going in to do audition in front of some people. I think to a certain extent, one of the things that does is it gives you a little bit of a juice. You're a little more alive, just like you are when you go on stage. I think that can work to an actor's benefit if they've been a stage actor and they have a way to harness that energy effectively. It also means that some people fuck it up, and those people then consequently I'm not in competition with them.
Yeah.
When people submit tapes, they can do it a bajillion times until they get it just so. So the tape quality is probably, particularly for older people, who've been in the business a while, pretty good across the, there's just the odds aren't as good. I'm competing with a bunch of people who put their best foot forward every single time on a certain level.
One of the things I find going through actors' tapes is that often the person that they're reading with is not an actor and is not a very good reader, and you just lose that performance.
So that I do it with my wife, or I do it with my dear friend Tommy, who are both very good actors, and I specifically ask for what I need to make the performance work, either by way of pace, by choice, by But yeah, I know there, and that is true. There's certainly, I do think there's a difference between. I mean, I'm 62. I think for the most part, the people I'm competing with are putting forward pretty good tapes. But it's never coming back, I'm afraid.
It may. Who knows?
Maybe. I mean, from a casting director's point of view, they don't have to have an office anymore.
That's true.
I mean, that's big. That's a big Benny.
Yeah, it's a big expense.
Yeah, and so there's so much shot on location right now that I think from producers and directors' point of view, it's like I don't have to, I don't have to be there. No,
Yeah.
I don't think it's coming back.
Wow, that's a shame.
But-
Now, John, even though you're in semi-retirement and you said that, is there more? It's a dumb question. With all the streaming services now and so many more, I guess, opportunities, is it better overall, or is
It's yes and no. I mean, the writers complain about this all the time, and I think it's very legitimate. Is if they hire you to write on a show, maybe they're only doing 8 or 10 episodes. You're not doing a 22 or 24 or 26 episode season, but they're kind of having to contract, so you're not necessarily free to do other things. That's less true for actors. Actors' contracts, if you're tied to a show as a nominal series regular, it isn't quite as exclusive. But you have to also know that on streaming, sometimes an episode is taking 2 or 3 weeks to shoot, or they're block shooting a bunch of episodes. So the whole arc of the season, I just finished Manhunt, the show I was telling you about. That was shot, I believe, over a 6-month period, maybe a 5-month period, but it was only 7 episodes.
wow?
But I was paid reasonably well, but I couldn't really do much in that time span. So what I will say is I think qualitatively it's the golden age of television. There certainly is a lot more and better. You go back to 1965 and you turn on the television, it's dumbass, 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 dumbass. That's it. Maybe you want Gilligan's Island or Ironsides. It's like, so, for all the nostalgia we sometimes have about those old shows, when you go back and watch them, you kind of go, oh, pretty creaky. So I think it's a great time to be an audience member. For an actor, the other reality is the residual stream is much worse. We started giving away residual money when cable television came on the scene. The producer said, we don't know if this is going to be lucrative, so we're not going to make the same deal with you that we made when we were paid
On network television.
for network television. And each subsequent contract, we've never really kind of gotten our bargaining strength back. So the residual checks that I used to get, which were substantial, now they're not substantial. So for younger actors who are beginning in this business, I mean, so much, your healthcare, your pension, the ability to kind of forecast revenue throughout the year is really predicated on building a residual stream. I was fortunate in that I had that, and to a certain extent, after this many years, still have that to an extent. Don't really need the money necessarily. But if you're young and you're coming up, there are a lot of business reasons why it's a much more parlous career field than it was. And the death of movies. I mean, the biggest residuals you're going to get are in feature films. They still make movies, of course, but now a lot of them are Netflix movies. So, you're making them under a slightly different contract, and you're not likely to see the residuals there either, much less the money up front. Back in the day, I've got about 18 answers to this question. Back in the day, if you were going to be a guest star on a television show, or you were going to be on a movie, and you didn't necessarily have a name, but you had a resume, you could get your quote. This is what I get, and it would be not bad. Nowadays, in television, you don't break what they call top a show. That's the rate that they agree to pay you if you're a guest star on a TV show. You'd have to be a major name to be paid your quote. Generally speaking, they have put effectively a ceiling on what you're going to make in television and film, unless you're a big star. So, cold water.
Yeah, that is very. I did not realize it had gotten to that point. I really didn't.
I mean, there's a lot of product, and in that sense, you're right. But you have to look at the contracts for each of those shows, what they are going to pay, and what they will pay to you and you and you and you and you. Back in the day, like ER, their budget, because they're going to get a lot of ad buys for a show that has 15 million eyeballs. They can afford to pay more. A streaming show may only have 2 million eyeballs. They're operating under a smaller budget, and you're not going to get residuals, and they're not going to pay you that much. So,
So what is your, with all the changes, and if they do call you which would you rather do? Would you rather do something on streaming? Would you rather get a network show? Or does it really depend on the script or what you feel like at the
Material.
time?
He goes for the material.
Well, again, it's not like I have the luxury of choice. I mean, there's something you can say if you're an actor. I mean, your perception of me is that I'm more than I am. I guarantee you. In Hollywood, I'm an actor with a resume, so I can get a fair amount of auditions. But I'm not a name, so I'm not going to get offers. You can, as an actor, tell your agent, "Hey, make me offer only," which means that somebody calls and your agent says he'll consider an offer, but he's not going to audition. Unless unless you're a name, that's just saying bye-bye, I quit.
Yeah.
So I audition. So my demi retirement is more based along the lines of whether or not I'm not going to audition for this because I want this week off, or I'm not going to audition for that because I don't feel like going to bumfuck, or I'm not going to audition for this because I don't like this part, or I'm not going to audition for that because I don't want to take my clothes off. Or it might just be, I've got 2 or 3 auditions coming in at the same time. I'm going to pick this one to prepare because I don't feel like trying to do 3 auditions in the same 2 days. That's a luxury that I have because I've got a lot of money and because I like the work, but I don't live or die for the work. That's why I say semi-retired. It's not that I don't like to act. It's not that I'm not happy to consider anything, but I do it from a different perspective now. I think I turned down 3 things this week. Three, one, I had to simulate masturbating, which I didn't feel like. The other one was for a network show that I thought was like, I've done this kind of thing 1,000 times, mustache twirling villain. And the other one was for a voiceover where the pay scale was $1,000 a day. It's like, not enough money. So, I like to read. I like to read. I like to take long walks. I like to hang out with the missus. I like to go out with my pal for dinner. I like to travel. I've never been somebody who feels like, I live for the art. That's not who I am.
John, do you still do the bird watching? I remember several years ago you talked about that.
That was a one-off. That was a one-off.
Oh, it was? Okay.
I do a lot of charity stuff, so that some friends of mine who work for the Audubon Society wanted to know if there's anything I could think of. And I said, well, let me see if I can get another couple of Star Trek actors together, and maybe we can all go bird watching together. So Bob Picardo and Ethan Phillips and I, and we thought, oh, hey, if we get this out in the world, maybe we'll get a bunch of people who want to go bird watching. We'll raise money for the Audubon Society. So it's pretty much Ethan Phillips, Bob Picardo, and I went bird watching. We didn't raise it. Which goes to show you that, marketing is everything, and nobody likes the old fat character guys. Oh, Bob's not fat. Ethan's not fat. All right, nobody likes me.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyway, I didn't know shit about bird watching. I couldn't care less. I couldn't see a bird if he was landing on my nose. So it was like...
I'm not sure if it was the first or second episode that we had the chance to interview you where you mentioned that. So it always stayed in my mind. I even told Michael, remember, he's a bird watcher. So
he said, make sure you ask him about that.
I'm totally not a bird watcher. I mean, I like birds as much as the next guy. More power to the bird. I feel badly that our society is killing birds. Don't let your cats outside. I'm all for birds. I just don't have I wouldn't know a red-breasted grousel beak from a purple finched motherfucker.
Aaron, jump on in, pal.
You mentioned before that you like reading, and I've heard that you really like collecting books. How did you get started in that, I suppose, and what are you reading now?
Right now, I'm reading a book by a guy named Stephen Brill called America's Bitter Pill, which is about our screwed up medical system and the passage of Obamacare. Before that, I read My Life as a Man, which is Philip Roth's 8th novel, which is a fictionalized account of his preposterous first marriage. I read all sorts of things. I don't think of myself as a book collector in the sense that I collect books because of their rarity or their value, but I like having an entire run of an author. I like Faulkner. I wanted to read Faulkner sequentially from the first book he wrote to the last. So I wanted all of Faulkner. Some of them are a little harder to find. I like to stay as best as one can. I mean, there's so much is written and published that you can't possibly scratch the surface of the surface of the surface. But I kind of like to stay on top of what's current in contemporary fiction. But I also read, I read like Michael Connelly, the guy who wrote the Bosch novels. I read all of Michael Connelly. I read. I go from fluff to kick-ass to history. Read a lot of sociology, political science, yada yada.
Do you prefer
Well-rounded.
reading the books or are audiobooks okay?
Books.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just
books.
wanted to clarify that to our listeners.
No, I mean, a lot of
watchers.
friends of mine actually are the voice artists, and they make a nice living.
Mhm.
More power to you. Just not my shtick, and nor do I have a device.
Before we go back to Aaron, the books. Do you still buy the regular books, John, or do you combination of both? Where
Nope,
you
no Kindle,
okay.
no Kindle, all the books. I haunt bookstores, library bookstores. I'll swerve like garage sale. It's like, get a book. What are books? What do you got? My parents had when I grew up, my mom and dad, the living room was wall to wall books, floor to ceiling, wall to wall books, and one of my earliest memories is like sitting in my diaper on the floor looking up at these books and just feeling like I don't know what they are, I don't really get it, but I can't wait until I do. They had like a great totemic significance for me for some reason, and I've just been their greatest gift to me was inculcating in me a deep love of reading, which I think personally, almost in my opinion, if you're a good actor, you'll love to read, because it's story and character, and it touches on everything in the world. It increases your ability to empathize with other people, and these are all things you need to have as an actor: a deep love of story, a deep interest in the complexity of character, and great empathy.
It's almost like books at the moment are sort of a dying art.
Don't say that. I don't.
I hope it's not true, but yeah, I mean,
and I don't actually believe it is. I mean, I'm concerned about the future of journalism, certainly, and I personally don't myself care to read books on tablets. But the reality is that I have no objection to the technology of a tablet. I will say this, which I think is interesting. Studies have shown that people who read on a tablet or a device or off a screen actually absorb only 70% of the material, because we are trained, when we are trained as children to read off a screen, to skim more than read. A book, the printed page, actually slows you down so that you absorb the material. And I will frequently read a book twice, because a book that's worth reading, Vladimir Nabokov famously said, the only good reading is rereading.
Wow.
Those are my thoughts on reading. Some of my thoughts on reading. I have a lot of thoughts on reading.
John, are you a fan of Tom Clancy? Some of the techno thrillers?
Not really. I won't say that. I've never read a Tom Clancy novel, so I'm not putting it down. I just haven't read them.
Okay.
I do like thrillers, like Frederick Forsyth.
Oh,
I think it's a great thriller writer. The guy who wrote The Day of the Jackal, which is also a very good movie. The original, not the remake. So I've read some Ken Follett, who I think is a pretty good thriller writer. I do not have. I don't consider there's such a thing as guilty pleasures. If you like whatever you like to read, huzzah! I do tend to find that if there isn't a stylistic hook, if the writing isn't even within a genre book pretty good, that the reader in me begins to balk a little bit. Like Agatha Christie is actually a pretty good stylist. Some mystery writers are not. If they're not, I tend not to like them as much.
Michael, or do you want to go back to Aaron?
Yeah, or go back.
Aaron, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
He's got something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is sort of going back a bit to Enterprise. Was Phlox a challenge for you?
No, I can't say in all candor. I mean, it's always a tricky question, because there are episodes that are challenging. There are scenes that are challenging in terms of how the guy looks at the world, in terms of what I thought his temperament and personality was. No, he's probably as close to me as to who I really am as anybody I've ever played. I mean, honestly, I joke about this all the time. I don't even like children. Why I play so many child molesters is a mystery to me. But nonetheless, if people play a child molester, that's sort of like, okay, that's a creepy headspace to go into. There are roles that are more demanding because the nature, like if you've ever, as a stage actor, played Chekhov. I think playing Chekhov is the most demanding thing an actor could be asked to do because the Russians change on a fucking dime. You're crying in one beat and you're laughing the next beat, and you have to figure out what happened in between that allows you to make that transition honestly. That is hard. Television tends not to, I hate to say this, television, and to a lesser extent film, doesn't tend to ask you to have that level of emotional fluidity. So, that's one of the great challenges, I think, of acting in a way. I'm not sure these mediums always necessarily quite call. I mean, you can. When you are asked to go from A to B like that, that's when it's a challenge. It's not usually so much the character as it is the demand of the scene. That's really the hardest work. If you're an actor, the hardest work is to pack the scene so that when something comes up in the scene that shifts you from action A to action B, from an emotional connection to the action you're pursuing to an entirely different emotional place because the action is shifted. Your girlfriend comes in and says, I know you were going to propose to me tonight, but in fact, fuck you, I'm leaving. And you have to go like that. You have to pack that for yourself. So when that moment comes, you are organically taken on this amazing journey from here to here. That's what's challenging about acting. Can you go there like that? And can you do it every beat? Every take, that to me is what separates the men from the boys when it comes to acting.
John, I read somewhere that the producers, and again, I know you'll correct me on this, the producers behind some of the Star Trek programs tended to hire people that had Broadway experience or stage experience. Was that true in your opinion? And if so, why do you think that was?
I certainly, it is certainly true that a lot of actors who work, let me say this. A lot of older actors who work have stage experience because most actors who are not pretty boys started on stage. So it's more to say that shows that use a lot of character people are more than likely going to be casting a lot of people who have stage backgrounds. It is probably equally true that if you were going to be behind a rubber head, that is not going to allow your face to express as much, you need to have vocal range because you're probably going to have to be, calling forth some things that have, you're just going to be required to do more with your voice. That may or may not be one of the reasons why people say this a lot. I don't know that I think this is necessarily true. I think this is something that has more to do with the fact that Star Trek has been on a long time. And so a lot of actors, including a lot of stage actors, have been on Star Trek.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
I certainly find that for me when I'm casting like fan films, that actors that have stage experience, I think, get the sort of heightened sense of reality that Star Trek kind of needs. In my experience,
I could see that.
Better equipped.
I could see that. I mean, I definitely think having a stage background equips you to be a better actor in film and television. I think one of the great, sort of like things that I think is kind of, in my opinion, is totally not true, is that somehow when you're coming from stage and you come to film and TV, you can't scale it down. And I don't think that's true. I think generally anybody who's a good stage actor can very quickly go, oh, I don't need to go. I just need to have it here. But they have the they have the capacity to go on whatever journey the scene requires you to go on. Because for one thing, on stage, you've played the great parts. If you've done Shakespeare, if you've done the classics, any halfway decent play, the demand on you is much greater than almost anything you're going to be asked to do on television and film. So you just have more resources. I say this as somebody who doesn't do stage anymore, by the way. I quit doing stage work years ago because I'm a lazy son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. True. It's extremely demanding. I'm actually not fucking with you. It's extremely demanding. 8 shows a week kills your ass.
Oh, and that, yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're a wet rag on Monday morning. I mean, anybody who's talking about the glory of the stage, it's like, it's true, it's wonderful, but it's like, as you get older, it's like, I ain't in that kind of shape anymore.
Yeah, I believe that. Wow. So when you were doing stage and you started out, I mean, obviously it was much more difficult, and doing television less so. I mean, the work is still the work, right? Because stage you would work for how many hours a day, then do your performance. I mean, it's not unlike television, right? Because you're 16 hours on.
No,
set?
it's very different in many respects. I mean, for one thing,
Okay.
if you're stage, well, I mean, this has all been said before, but the amount of time you're actually working on a TV show or working on a movie, most of the time you're sitting around on your ass waiting.
Okay.
Yeah. A stage is really an actor's medium. It's about, rehearse a scene. Let's rehearse it again. Let's get into it again. Let's take some, here's some adjustments. Let's do it again. Let's do the whole rehearsal. You're acting. It's acting. And when the show is up, it's acting. Nobody says, okay, we're going to take 2 hours to change the scenery. Actors go back to their trailers, take a nap. We'll come get you when we're ready. It's one of the hardest things I think about film and TV acting is you have to find a way to take, it's maybe a 12, 14-hour day. You've got to find a way to kind of buy into this kind of like rhythm where it's like, la, 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 go, la, 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 go, that's not everybody's gig. Personally, it's like, I'll be in my trailer reading, or I'll be at Crafty. I'm happy to shoot the shit. I'm happy to I rather like the kind of, for lack of a better word, I like the musicality of a day on the set,
Sort of ebbs and flows a bit.
Yeah. And there's usually like, one scene or a particular, not always. Sometimes the day is like 3 boring scenes in a row. But sometimes it's like, a day is a boring scene, a scene you're not in, you've got time off. And then there's a scene that's actually kind of demanding and interesting. And that's kind of, and the rehearsal is kind of like your opportunity to see if we can figure out what the scene is. And then you get a couple of takes and it's like not quite. And then you get the take and you got it. And now let's match. So sometimes a whole 14-hour day is actually going to give you like, just that one real like, on the other hand, those moments are quite magical. I mean, when you feel like you've just really got the scene, the thing about stage is you have to repeat the same damn thing again and 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 again. And as I got older, I just felt like I like rehearsal. I did not want to do the same show every night for weeks and months on end. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah, I get that, man. John, when you were on Enterprise and other programs, you had sets, you had stuff, and of course you had special effects in the background, view screen, whatever. But you did some big movies. We'll say 2012, and please, again, correct me if I'm wrong. There's more special effects. There's less, I guess, real aspects to it. Did you find it easier to work on maybe like Enterprise where everything was tactile as opposed to the blue screen, green screen, and all that stuff? Is it difficult for you to work on green screen? Is it easier?
There was less green screen from me on 2012 than you're imagining.
Okay.
So what is undoubtedly, I think, kind of challenging is those, action adventure films where it's like sometimes it's over, you're shooting over 4 or 5 days. And it's like you have to continue, you have to kind of like, for 4 or 5 days be basically like, and variations on a theme of you're kind of wrung out at the end of the week. You know, even on Enterprise sometimes, you know, it's like the climax, which is, you know, on the bridge, and it's all day long, and the monster appears. Da, 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 da. You know, it is hard to sustain both physically and emotionally the level of, you know, climax that can be required. That is one of the things I find sort of sometimes daunting about what the technique is for film and TV acting. Is it's like, oh God, I get to come back and do this again tomorrow.
Wow. I remember early on in the run of Enterprise, you had mentioned in an interview that you had come up with this backstory for Phlox. And then when you found out, you know, that, it's like, wow, it really threw you, right?
There weren't any Denobulans in the history of Star Trek. So I thought, okay, well, you know, maybe he comes from a monastic world. There are only 5 Denobulans left. And then it turns out they're like the fuck bunnies of the galaxy. And they all have a billion wives. And the planet is so crowded, he left because it was the only way he was going to get in the elbow room. So if you're a Klingon or a Vulcan, or, you know, I mean, your character is your species, and it's like, you know, now you can, you know, execute within this extremely. I really was glad that there were no parameters for what a Denobulan was, but it was interesting and kind of revelatory to realize that, you know, your Bible writing was like. And generally speaking, I mean, I have to say, it's on the page. Yeah. It's on the page. It's in the scene. Your job as an actor is to figure out, what is my action here and why does it matter? What are the stakes? What am I doing to get what I want? And what are the beats in the scene where my action shifts and changes based on what's happening in the moment? It is, of course, vitally important to read the entire script so you understand, you know, the context of the scene within the whole. But generally speaking, it's on the page. You know, and I'm not like Uta Hagen. Even she kind of repudiated one of the books she wrote, Respect for Acting, much later in her life. I'm not somebody who feels like an actor needs to kind of think about, what did my character have for breakfast in the morning? What did it's like, it's not in the moment. That's not germane. You know, your worldview is important. Why you are pursuing what you are pursuing has to do with the way you have of perceiving the world you live in. And you definitely have to walk around and think about it. That's why if you're a child molester, it's like, okay, so what do I like about these little bastards? Yeah.
Wow. That was good. All right, fair enough. Michael, thanks, you're back. Folks, just very quickly, I know that we're 1 hour in, and we did not talk to John about how long we have him on with us. And again, we failed right there. What a shock. But we are so gracious having him on with us. And I know that he's expecting his wife to be home very soon. So we are on John's time. In the meantime, I don't
think she's home yet. Hold on. Hey, Bonnie, are you home? Hey, Bonnie? You're okay.
Okay, we're good. All right, fair enough. And I was going to go right there to Aaron. I said, because I know he has quite a few more questions, especially out there from Perth, Australia.
It's not if she were home that I would have to shut down and run upstairs to do her bidding. I don't want anybody to think that I'm whipped. I am not whipped.
And that was not my intent. I just thought that the martini should have been there already. So
that's what I thought too.
I am tempted to let you talk amongst yourselves while I go up and make a martini.
Which you have done in the past on air. I thought that was so funny. I think it was the second episode where you said, okay, gentlemen, hold on a minute. I'm going to go prepare my second martini. And I, like an idiot, famously said, oh, hell, you're not the only one that's going to drink on tonight's episode.
No, I didn't realize there was precedent for that behavior. Oh, now you're tempting me.
Oh, that was the second episode.
It's good for me to be strong. It's good for me to be strong. I'm trying to only have one martini a night now. So if I put it off for a little while, then I have to look forward to. So that's fine.
Good for you, John. Now, as far as the martini. And what I mean is you're only having what? Just
I don't consider it an act of virtue. I consider it a necessity, unfortunately, brought about by senescence. Believe me, it does not make me happy. And I'm not entirely sure it's going to take either. It's like, I'm a 2 martini a night guy. It's like, I told my doctor, it's like, all right, I'll try one martini. They always
So
say the
what's
same
your-
goddamn thing. I come in every year, and they always say, "Well, we probably don't want to drink too much because we don't want to cut that back down to." Like, yeah. So we go through this farce. If I pretend that I'm going to do that, and I do it for maybe 3 or 4 days, and then I go back to right where I was before, because no one lives fucking forever.
Yeah.
And I would rather die drinking martinis and live longer not drinking martinis.
Oh, okay. So what's your martini of choice? How do you prepare it?
Well, I use martini as kind of a stand-in. I mean, I have a variety of different drinks I like. It'd be vodka martini up with a twist. Occasionally, I'll have like a flavored vodka, like an orange martini, but I'll also drink a Manhattan. I'll drink some scotch. What do you got is basically my answer to that question. I'll drink some nice red wine and have a lager.
Okay.
I don't want you to think I'm dissolute.
Oh,
I
no,
am
no, of
dissolute,
course
but I
not.
don't want you to think I'm dissolute. That's an
No,
entire.
heck no.
Yeah.
I discovered at Applebee's the lemon drops.
That is
Oh,
a
man.
sentence that I'm going to cut you off right there. I discovered at Applebee's. You don't even need to finish that.
Oh,
I discovered at Applebee's. Really? What? No, go ahead. I'm sorry. You
not at all.
What you just Applebee's is just not usually where I think of, like, what did you discover there?
They have a bar at Applebee's now.
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, they do. In some of the newer restaurants, you can
It's
go
like
there.
having a bar at Arby's. I'm sorry. I just
They do. They have one there, and the barkeep there, Brandy, over here in Montclair, is very nice. She introduced me to the lemon drop.
Oh,
You had
very
those?
nice drink. Very nice drink.
Yeah.
Not going
Unfortunately,
to get me to my neighborhood Applebee's, but it's okay. Very good.
no,
I'm going to
just
have to
curious.
make fun of that. That you're going to Applebee's.
Oh, hell yeah, no problem.
He goes
man.
quite a bit.
Oh, stop it, Michael. All right.
Fair enough. I didn't know Applebee's had a bar.
Yeah, well, at least the one in Montclair does, and the one in Chino does too.
Okay. All right. Fair
So
enough.
it's all good. Who knows? Maybe next time you're driving by, you see.
I'm too judgy. I'm too judgy about this. I shouldn't be judgy.
Not at all. Not at all, John. It's all good. If Michael doesn't have a question, Aaron.
Marie Callender's have a bar. Did you ever go to the? I'm just.
No, I don't think they did. And there's so few Marie Calendars now, man.
Because they didn't have bars. I'm guessing that's why they're all gone.
Ah, very good. Yes.
They made the rookie mistake of concentrating on pies instead of lemon drops.
Idiots.
Idiots.
Yeah. Aaron.
John, I was going to ask you. You had a lot of really good two-handers in Enterprise. Was there a sort of favorite cast member that you enjoyed, sort of playing opposite?
I loved everybody, really. I mean, I wouldn't want to pick anybody in particular because everybody had certain things that I really enjoyed, both about them as people and about them as performers. Probably Connor, only insofar as I also just had a personal affection for Connor that was see, I don't feel like I'm dissing my other castmates, and I really liked everybody. But he was a huge reader, and so we always chat about books. And I think his character was also written to have a very interesting sense of humor. Like, one of my favorite scenes was when I'm trying to get him to fuck my wife, which I quite enjoyed. Yeah, Linda at the time, she was young, and I think she was a little uncertain whether or not this was the best career choice for her, doing this show. So I think there was some mixed feelings for her a bit, perhaps, about the experience. And I loved Linda, but I also, sometimes felt for her a little bit. I think that might have been a tougher road for her. I mean, I love her to death, and she's a wonderful actress. She's probably in a better career than the rest of us at this point, but she was just out of grad school.
I think she popped up on the Dharma series on Netflix. I think she was at the end of that, and I was
yeah, she works a lot.
Yeah,
She's on Bosch, and yeah,
and she still looks the same.
Well, if I was
It's incredible.
I'd be working too. I know, that's my problem. Is not taking anything away from Linda's acting ability. If only I'd been born pretty. Well.
But no, I think there's a great relationship between Hoshi and Dr. Flox, and you do see that evolve. Like I said, we watched it recently, from start to finish, and you do see the growth of her character and how she looks up to Flox. And
I also really quite liked the woman who unfortunately passed away, Ensign Cutler, the woman who played Ensign Cutler in season 1, whose name now I'm sadly blanking on, but
Kelly, her first name, isn't it?
Kelly Waymire.
Yeah.
I think they would have been inclined to see if she might. I don't know if they would have made her a series regular, maybe, but she certainly would have been a recurring character. And I was quite smitten with her as a person and as an actress. So,
she was great. She had great chemistry on screen with you, and
yeah. So. But Anthony is marvelous and boisterous and so much fun to be around, and Dominic's got this wonderful, dry, lacerating wit, and Scott is just a prince among princes. So it was actually a very, very sweet, dear group of people. I've been very blessed in my career to have been on shows where even if the show I had issues with, the people were spot on fabulous. So I like to think that's because of me that I attract spot on fabulous people.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
a lot of them are really
absolutely
fucked up until I kind of do them into my orbit. But something I say because I know none of them are watching this. So.
We actually found out they do.
It's going to be all over the yellow press. John Dish's only Connor was worth hanging out with. Everybody else abysmal.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we're going to put that disclaimer in there that we asked you the question. We made you choose, John. And I'm glad you were able to clear that up at the very end. It's really good. Hope is in the chat room. Thank you. Hope, I'm sorry if we're having technical difficulties. I just saw the message. That's why I was responding to her. She said that there might be a glitch because she thought the episode ended almost at the moment it started. So I hope we haven't had a technical difficulty right now. But Hope, thank you for joining us.
The entire conversation does not really exist.
Well, no, actually it is going to exist, but the live feed might not be operating right now because it's no accident. I saw her comment. I liked it. And now Hope joined us. So Hope, if I remember correctly, you're in New Orleans or thereabouts. If you have any questions, please, Hope, jump on in. And
Hope, you missed so much. I mean, it was scintillating. It was fabulous. Just don't go back and watch it. If you missed it the whole time, fuck it. It's gone. It's gone.
As a matter of fact, Hope, I'm not surprised she's here because we've been talking this John, we were talking this interview before you committed. It was like, we don't want to ruin anything, but John Billings is going to join us in the future.
Yeah, boy, Hope got kind of screwed, though. I wonder if it's just something that happened to Hope or whether this is the entire cohort of listeners. Is anybody else listening? Is there any way to tell?
Yeah, we're able to see the numbers, and I am a bit concerned because
it's only Hope.
Well, we should have had more. Actually, we should have more activity. So, they're going to see this when the episode is posted after, and it's my sneaky suspicion that there may have been a technical difficulty because we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitch TV. So the episode we still have it.
Good because we could start again. I mean, I remember all my answers.
Oh, I'm in. All right,
I remember my lines. I've got them here, so it's
okay. Yeah.
So what's hofoco.org? Yeah. I like that, hofoco.org. Now that's cool. Hope, thank you. Really, I do appreciate that you're on with us. So anytime you have a question or comment, just jump on in.
Where do you live in New Orleans, Hope? What part of town? I grew up in New Orleans. Not grew up, but I spent 3 years in New Orleans when I was 6, 7, 8 years old in Slidell, Louisiana, across from Lake Pontchartrain. When you originally went live, it ended a live feed.
Okay.
That seems sort of counterintuitive. When you originally went live, it ended the live feed.
Wow. So it more than likely is a technical difficulty on YouTube or on Facebook. I do apologize.
Probably Facebook.
That's blank.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. I live in Lafayette.
Lafayette. I'm from Berwick. I'm familiar with New Orleans areas. What's your favorite restaurant in New Orleans, Hope? Do you have one?
Oh, I'm sure she does. And there's about a 10 to 15 second delay, and then she's going to type her answer. But Hope, it's been great having you on with us, and I'm glad you're on with us right now. So thank you. I am disappointed because we were noticing there were no comments, and she's telling us we're having technical difficulties. Damn it!
Wow.
So.
Well, all right. Well, it exists. The artifact exists. Artifact exists to be shared with the world, not in real time. At least that's something.
While she decides to answer that, when you were in Orville, it was cool because I was so happy to see you on that episode. And then when you, screw it, spoilers. If they haven't seen it, they haven't seen it. But, there it is. Look. Ooh.
Yakuza House. Sushi
Yakuza.
workshops. All right, excellent. Next time I'm in New Orleans, I'll check that out. Yakuza House. Like the Japanese gangsters. Yakuza.
Yeah.
Japanese gangsters.
And in New Orleans. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. I like it. I'm sure that'll work.
Yes, Orville. Yes, I torture Bob Picardo. I stick his hand in a pot of boiling hot soup.
Wow, yeah, man, you got to play heavy in that one.
Torture his family, and I get my comeuppance in the end. People ask me, "You gonna come back to the Orville?" It's like, I don't think so. I think I'm pretty dead.
Yeah, I was so disappointed with that, man.
Well, yeah, and spoiler alert. If you haven't seen that episode, it doesn't end well for me.
Yeah, that was a bummer, but it was great seeing you on that episode.
It was great to act with Bob, who I adore. Bob Picardo, who never misses a chance to yank my chain. Bob Picardo sent me an email once, my favorite email I ever received. Dear John, just wanted to let you know in a recent fan poll, I was voted the most popular Doctor in Star Trek, and you were voted the least popular Star Trek Doctor. Love, your friend Bob.
Oh, nice.
What?
Like, that was clearly a push poll conducted only amongst the family. But I just thought, the fact that you went to the trouble of making sure I saw that, I thought, wait, even worse than Diana Muldaur? Come on, man.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's right.
And I say that as a fan of Diana Muldaur, but I gather that she is not considered to be the greatest Star Trek Doctor. But,
that's funny. Yeah.
It only lasted a season. Yeah.
Well, I think she was liked by the fan base, but there were some executive issues that were involved there, but that was related to Gates McFadden and stuff. And there's actually a lot of material on that. She's been interviewed, and she's talked about that she was paid a little more than the rest of them, and a lot of the other regulars were unhappy about that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it's an interview. She did a wonderful interview. It's on YouTube. It's in my history.
Who's Dr. Danley, by the way? John Billingsley, Dr. Danley.
Oh, there it is. Okay, let's get to that. Yes, Dr. Danley. I do apologize. I don't know. Who's Dr. Danley?
I don't know. Should I know who Dr. Danley is? I assume that's a character I played.
Yeah, it's got to be. I didn't set that up. You did.
I set it up?
Yeah, not us.
Yeah.
I set it up?
All kidding aside, yes, that is your name.
Dr. Danley. Huh. I
Wait a
wonder
minute.
why. I wonder
The
why.
gentleman the top left played in Prison Break.
Yeah.
The gentleman, of course.
Yes, I did. Who were you expecting to see tonight, Hope? I'm just idly. Were you expecting
John Billingsley, woman.
Oh,
That's what you said.
I am that gentleman. Yes, I was the vice president, vice president's brother, and I don't remember the plot, but I was kept in seclusion in a house in Montana. They'd taken out all my teeth. I had to gum my food, and I got a show called The Nine, so I could no longer continue playing the role of the vice president's poor brother, and I was replaced by Jeff Perry, who subsequently went on to fame in Scandal. I just come to the host.
Oh.
Any added individuals, I am an added individual, are just Lanyap. I love that. You are from New Orleans. It's true. I am Lanyap.
Now she knows. That is so funny. Hope, I tell you, ever since you've joined us, you've been awesome.
You may love Jeff Perry because, as I say, I was replaced by Jeff Perry. So you may think you love me, but in fact, you love the other Lanyap, who's not here tonight.
Oh, I think she knows. She's actually she's really good in the chat room.
I wonder, Hope, if you know of any of my. I've played a lot of child molesters in my time, and perhaps you might be familiar with my oeuvre. My oeuvre as a I've molested children on various. Oh no, it was me. All right, excellent.
Yeah, no.
No, it was you. Spoken like somebody who's had you arrested. No, it was him. It wasn't Jeff Perry. He stole yours.
Or maybe
Oh
she's
my
talking
God.
about the child molester stuff.
No. As John was talking about the child, that she
I was
responded.
I was a horrible serial killer on a show called Cold Case, in which the two-parter in which I abduct people, take them out in the woods, make them take most of their clothing off. It was a network show. I didn't make them take all their clothing off, just most of their clothing. And then I chase them around and shoot them and kill them. And I got away with it in the first episode. And then eventually I kind of ended up sort of engineering suicide by cop for inexplicable reasons. And so some people recognize me for that. Usually the people on the street who give me the hairy eyeball, like, who are you? I think I'm on the post office wall. I always know the people who recognize me from Star Trek and the people who recognize me from my more sordid endeavors on television. I didn't like the other guy. Take that, Jeff Perry. I watch Law and Order SVU religiously. I've never been in that. Plus, I'm in school for cybersecurity and secure programming. You would never be a part of a dark world. Oh, indeed, you are wrong there. I know better. In the fiction, that is to say, myself in my own life, no. Beacon of light in a dark world. Me, a little bit.
Yeah, that is cool. I'm glad you responded, Hope, and I'm glad you saw the post, because I was actually on the page for a moment. I noticed your comment. I'm like, oh my God, it was an hour ago. So as soon as I clicked on it, she responded. So I appreciate that, Hope. So Aaron, knowing that it's about 11 o'clock over there, how you doing on the Tuesday morning? I'm sure you have more questions.
Yes, I do. I actually have one question from my partner. I told him that I was going to be doing this interview, and I said, do you have any questions for Dr. Flux? And he said, what was your favorite pet in sickbay?
Oh, he had so many.
Well, of course, none of them were real. It was all big fat grips kind of hiding underneath the cages, sticking there, So I can't say
big fat grips.
There was no. I'll tell you my big fat grip story. This has nothing to do with Star Trek, but this always makes me laugh. I was on a show called I don't know what it was. It was a pilot, some kind of teen-centric comedy, and I was the villain. And my villain got to make out with an absolutely stunningly beautiful woman. I was like, that never happens in my career. And I was kind of bending her over a desk and making out with her on top of the desk. This poor woman, after every take, would be like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ, when is this going to end? I was enjoying myself. Anyway, this goes on. The desk, it was missing a leg. So this grip was having to lie under the desk and hold the desk up with his like meaty paw. And so, there'd be a fuck up and we'd do another take, and a fuck up, we'd do another take, and a fuck up, we'd do another take. And I was kissing this woman for like 45 minutes. And towards the very end, this grip is like, just like sweating bullets. And he looks up at me and says, I hate actors. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I tell you, didn't have to.
No, that is cool.
Wasn't answering your question really, Aaron. The dog was nice, not my pet, but a very sweet. There was two sisters, I believe, the Beagles. They were gassy. They were even gassier than Jolene. It was a horse race, really.
So the cheese they got fed, probably.
And Jolene was a big cheese eater. She'd go around with a big bowl of cheese. There was an episode she was in Palm Far. I had to be locked in the whatchamacallit chamber with her. The whatchamacallit. What was it called? Decon chamber. Thank you. I knew y'all know the names of shit. Had to be locked in the decon chamber with her. It was like I saw her walking around eating a bowl of cheese. It was like, put that cheese down. Let me spend the whole goddamn day with you inside a put that cheese down.
All of a sudden we're starting to get a lot more people to join us. Good evening, Roz. If you have any questions, thank you for joining us.
You missed it. Oh my God, the first hour was the best material of all. I can't.
I'm starting to think that there were some technical difficulties, and I apologize. But the episode's going to be there, but we are getting more and more people. I see the count is starting to go up. I am so sorry, but it will be available for everyone. Roz, do you have any questions? Thank you for joining us. She's over out in New York on Long Island. I know that. She's watching on our YouTube channel. So, Hope, you're still there. I'm sure you are. Any other questions? But, Aaron, go ahead, please. We actually, I want to say this, John. We had the privilege of interviewing Aaron because he does some great stuff from out there, in Western Australia. And I myself was impressed. I'm a fan of what he does. Creative stories. They're stories. They're well done. the young man up there has talent. I myself was impressed with him, and I said, dude.
You write and direct, Aaron? Are they?
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Run direct, yeah.
Cool. How many have you done?
8, I think.
Hour long?
No, they're only short films, so some of them are probably 7, 10, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. And all within the Trek universe.
Yeah, so it actually started off. I was doing this short film project, and I was trying to do 7 short films in a year, and they were all unrelated. And the last one just happened to be this sort of Star Trek one because I had a few set pieces that I'd built. I like building props and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And we did this sort of Star Trek 2-hander, and then it got a lot of attention online. I won some awards for it, and then I thought, oh, people seem to like it. So yeah, we did a series of 5 Enterprise ones, and then we're in sort of the Voyager era now.
So when you say Enterprise one, so basically these are set in the time frame, but don't use any of the characters. Is that?
Yep. They're all original characters. Yep.
You
And
have
it sort of takes place after the show, I guess.
Do you have a Denobulan? Is there a Denobulan?
No. These were very sort of not low budget, but I was very aware of what I could do, what I was capable of doing. So there's no sort of prosthetics and things like that.
Gotcha. Well, you could have a Denobulan who wears a paper bag over his head.
There you go.
You know,
Should have thought of that.
Yeah. In fact, you could have all the alien species, but it's like all the shy. Like a Denobulan is really shy, a Vulcan is really shy, a Klingon is really shy, and they all wear paper bags.
I should have done that. That would have.
I give
you weren't there, John.
I give my idea to you. I give my. God knows no one on Rick Brana never took any of my fucking suggestions. Had great
suggestions. Well, like I was saying before we started, I took one of your comments from a documentary and turned it into a short film. So
yeah,
I didn't credit you. I should have credited you.
I'm used to that. That's all right. Go ahead. That's all right.
Let me actually interrupt Aaron on that one because in Star Trek Voyager, you may not know this, John. Robert Beltran dared.
Yes.
Yeah, he dared them to do stuff. And he eventually got into a relationship with the young lady who played 7 of 9 because he was daring Brendan Braga to do it.
That's Bob Picardo. I thought Bob Picardo ended up with a relationship with.
Oh well, I guess several people did. Unfortunately,
everybody had a relationship with
7 of 9. Yeah. Is there anything that you dared the producers to do?
Sluts. Everybody was knocking on. I think I should have a relationship with 7 of 9. Oh, I think I should have a relationship with 7 of 9.
It might have been that. Was there anything that you dared that you could share with us? Obviously, it didn't come to pass.
Technically, I don't know that this is actually true. This is maybe somewhat apocryphal. But in the second season, I was at a party with some of the writers, and I said, everybody's running around in their little blue undie pants. How come I ain't running around in my little blue undie pants? And they said, you wouldn't do it. And I said, of course I would do it. And they said, well, maybe we'll have you run around naked someday. And I said, you take that on. So I like to think that the 3rd season in which I was running around naked was actually in response to a quasi-dare. There was a lot of turnover amongst the writing staff, so it could very well be that the people I had actually had that conversation with were gone by then. So maybe they left a memo in the writer's room. Any chance, although we are leaving, that you could get Billingsley naked in season 3 would be much appreciated. Love the fired writers.
That is a great story, and I appreciate that. And the note from Hope, thank you, Hope. Appreciate it. Really good stuff. And Aaron, she had a quick comment for you.
Allenworthy.
I don't know who that is.
I'm not sure what that means either.
Okay, Hope. Then you're gonna need to either send me a message, Hope, or put it in the chat room, please. And Ross says she's recovering from COVID, just enjoying the show. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, it's all John. It is. It's all John. Thank goodness, because we cannot carry a program. So it's
not according to Hope. Hope only comes in to watch you. I'm a lanyap. According to Hope, I'm a motherfucking lanyap. Which, for those of you who do not speak New Orleanian,
no, we do not.
That is the 13th donut. That is the little extra you get along with your order. I got 3 maraschino cherries in my Manhattan. A little lanyap.
Okay. This is fair. Okay, look, folks, forgive me. This is directed at Aaron. This is from Hope. This is the character that she's referring to.
Gosh, I wish I looked like that. Thanks.
Okay, he is played on Disney Channel, Austin and Ellie. So that's who she's talking about.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
have to
I
look
get
that up
that a lot
afterwards.
too. I get that a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm frequently confused with Steve McQueen, but it's usually Steve McQueen or Callum.
okay. So John, do you ride the bike as well? Did you jump the fence over there?
No.
That was cool. You know, by the way, that
Steve
was
McQueen,
actually
Steve
him.
McQueen, who, by the way, it sounds like the biggest dick in Hollywood history. He used to, at the end of every night's shoot, he would bum money from the grips, pork grips, to go home. He'd say, I'm out of gas money. Can I bum $5 from somebody? It's like, you're like #1 box office star in America, and you're mooching money off the crew. You son of a bitch. Anyway, I can say that because Steve McQueen is dead, and I don't think I'm in too much danger of getting hunted down and beat up.
Wow.
I wouldn't say that about Steve McQueen if he was still alive. Even if he was like 95, he would still be able to beat my ass. That's why I'm not insulting, for instance, Charles Bronson. I'm not saying anything against Charles Bronson. Fine actor.
Good stuff. That's good to know.
Yeah. Yep. Never insult people who could beat the shit out of you. That's one of the things my father said to me early on, which pretty much covered the entire waterfront. So I've pretty much lived my whole life not saying shit about people. John's library rivals Harlan Ellison's. Well, I've got a big... Oh, he's dead. I didn't know that. Harlan Ellison died. Oh, God.
Recently, I think it was in the last 2-3 years.
Oh,
Yes.
that kind of rings a bell. Do I have a favorite author?
Sorry, Ross. Yeah, it might have been mentioned. Sorry about that, John.
No, all right. I don't know that I have a favorite author. I mean, it's sort of like you have a favorite food. If you were on a desert island and you were doomed to eat pizza forever, you'd kind of begin to go, "Oh God, pork chops." But if you'd ask for pork chops, you'd be jonesing for pizza. I'm a big fan of Faulkner. There's a guy I love right now, a guy named David Mitchell, who's a contemporary writer that I think is just marvelous. I could go on and on. I have, there's so many writers I love. There's so many wonderful writers right now. Those are two that just popped into my head, but I'd be doing them injustice to all the others that didn't pop into my head. So.
Understood. I just looked that one up right now, John. It's actually more than 2 or 3 years. I was a bit surprised.
2018.
Yeah, he passed away. Yeah.
It does ring a bell. I tell you, everybody's dropping like flies. When you're 62, it's like you can't, it's like you turn to the obits far quicker than you did when you were younger. Like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah. I'm right behind you there, John. I'm 53, man. Catching up.
I 2 of my ex-girlfriends passed away last year. It was like,
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, I mean, it was many, 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 many years ago, but
Sure.
It is, as my father used to say, it's like you hear the music from afar, and then you see them coming over the hill with their guns, and they're coming at you. They're coming at you.
Wow.
No place to run. And they want me to not drink as much.
Yeah, they don't know what's going on, man. They just don't get it.
I know. If anything, I'm going to be drinking 3 martinis in another couple of years.
Hell yeah, rightfully so. That's what I usually have when I
Michael,
go out.
Michael doesn't ask a question.
Applebee's.
Michael, I want to hear a question from Michael. Michael, come on, you must have a question. Yeah, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're muted, Michael.
You're muted.
You're muted, Michael.
You're still muted.
Oh, okay. Well, I was coughing. That's why. Okay. Question. What is your favorite food? I'm sure everybody wants to know.
Unfortunately, I love ice cream. I love bad food. This is my problem. Everything.
I can relate.
I just, I loathe vegetables and I love meat and sweets. And this is going to, and I'm, it's amazing I'm still here, frankly.
Do you want all my extra Halloween candy?
No, not so much candy. I love ice cream. I love ice cream.
Okay.
Love ice cream.
I'm trying to get rid of it.
No, I'm good pork chop. I don't know. I similar to the best, favorite authors. It's like, let 100 flowers bloom when it comes to food.
So since you don't like vegetables, there was a moment of bonding with George Herbert Walker Bush, right? When he said he hated broccoli. That was the only moment, right?
It's I did, if I had to rank them, broccoli would not be in the bottom tier of vegetables. I will say that. But no, I mean, I eat them because, it's like, all right, you gotta eat your goddamn vegetables. But I'm not a fan. I think there's a lot of evidence that there is no God, and vegetables is certainly, one of their things. Like, if we were supposed to eat vegetables, why don't they taste good?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Take that, you religious people out there. Explain that. Why didn't God make broccoli taste good? He could have done that. He could have controlled that.
Yeah, you would say. Yeah, I have no answer for that. Wow, I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
I'm always good in a theocratic conversation. It's like,
It's cool.
let me ask you this.
All right, Michael.
Again? Oh,
yes.
Oh, you're so mean to me.
Yeah, you're the producer of this program. So, Clown, be ready to go.
I am not.
Yeah, you are.
What?
I'm not.
Well, Aaron's on a roll. Aaron is like.
Well, Aaron's on a roll.
Aaron's on a roll. I think Aaron should be the host. Come on, Aaron.
Well, I agree.
God almighty. Sorry, Roger, but Aaron is like rocking it with the question.
I'm sorry.
You got rid of Roger now.
Roger. Roger, I'm sorry, but you know what? Yeah, we weren't live.
Well, he's a producer.
That was Michael's fault.
Yes.
That was Michael's
Now
fault.
it's definitely Michael's
all
fault.
the time.
This is my hope. I hope to. I wanted to kind of like get a little internecine warfare going on.
Oh, it doesn't take much.
Michael broke up after John Billingsley.
I don't know if it'll happen because all three of us have in common that we met on roughly the same day, same location in person, which is kind of cool. That's what the three of us have in common. We were all there at that disaster, the Hollywood Expo.
At Applebee's over some delicious.
Oh, you're funny. Okay, John, look, sir, I know you're a busy man. I know you're retired and stuff, but if you're willing,
you'll take me out to an Applebee's,
sir, and I will find the bar one. So don't worry about that, sir. And there will be, what was it that the at the beginning of the program? Well, what do I owe you?
A scone.
The scone, yes, there it is.
Oh, that's right. All the people who weren't watching the show now, they don't know. Oh my God, that was so good. That was so good, and you missed it, all of you.
Yes. So, well, they're going to get to it when they hear
it up. But that's all right. You can watch it down the road. It won't be live, but go ahead, Aaron. Do you have another question? I should go fairly soon because frankly, I'm getting hungry. But
yeah, and I do want to say, John, the time has been great, and I know you always give us a lot of time, so we get it. Aaron, go ahead, please.
This is an obscure question, but I'm assuming Enterprise was the first show that you got an action figure made of yourself. What was that like, seeing yourself?
Yes, first and last. My action figure has a detachable head, first off, which I think is something.
Yes.
So if you have cats, you can roll it around for the cat, which is how I lost one of my heads. I had a spare head for that figure. And then for some reason, I don't remember why, but they had... Rosalind, yes, I did pull Mark B. Lee's pants off in Germany. Oh, what a good memory. That was one of my favorite memories. You met the Mrs. Bonita Friederisi, who was on stage with me, and she collaborated with me on taking Mark B. Lee's pants off. This was after I came on stage with my own pants off because I was following Edward James Olmos and Nichelle Nichols at 11 o'clock at night at a convention in Germany. It was like, I love both those guys. Very serious people. It was like 3,000 drunken German fans sound asleep. It was like, okay, I got to wake these people up. So I went pantsless.
As a matter of fact, Mark B. Lee is a friend to us and to our program. I believe he joined us for the second episode as well, and probably I think he was on the third episode with us as well. So
all right.
Who knows if Mark is? Well, he may not be because he's doing a lot of traveling right now. But anyway, yeah.
So that's the only action figure I've ever had. Chekhov plays. No action figures emerged from the Chekhov that I did, sadly.
Wow.
I have to go for like a scan to do that, or that was completely.
Yes, they do. They do a scan. They did not. It's like oh, they got rid of my punch. What kind of action figure that's got rid of my punch? Yeah, they take in a little van and they I don't know. I kind of just make the white noise in my head during all the tech stuff. When you're long ago and far away. I remember the smile. They basically have you smile.
Oh yeah.
As big a smile as you can smile, and they photograph it from 1,000 different angles, and they use that as the template from which they do their digital magic. And then it turns out I could blow up my face could blow up like a pufferfish, and I had a ton.
Oh, that was so crazy.
And I had quite a lot of things that I could do. I could scale walls. Yeah, very flexible. I know. Remarkable.
Did the action figure do that too?
No.
The action figure is fairly inert. I found,
Oh.
at least in my experience, the action figure doesn't actually do much. I have him on my mantelpiece, and as far as I can tell, he hasn't budged in 25
If we ever get a chance to speak with John again, I'm going to have to send him the action figures in advance, because if you've never caught John on stage at a convention, you're missing out. John is the best when it comes to entertaining. The things that he does with any damn prop that's available, whether it's an action figure or whether it be a camera or whether it be the
or a
Hilton
small child plucked from the audience.
Oh yeah. Maybe that too. But I was telling John, I was like, damn it. I wish I would have just sent him any of these. I have that guy, the bald guy, and then I have a Vidian from Voyager, and then Balana.
The bald guy, Picard, the bald guy.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, from First Contact. Yeah, there he is.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I have a few of them.
The
I
bald.
have dolls.
He wasn't. If he was on the show, you wouldn't just call him the bald guy. Hey, it's a Lanyap. I turned in, and there's the Lanyap, the bald guy from the bald guy.
Hope would have said that one. That's good. I did not know what that is. That is so cool, from New Orleans. That's the first time Hope uses that one.
You know what a Lanyap was?
No, I did not. That was cool. Yeah, we do now know. Thank God we weren't mistaken for any of that stuff.
All right, gentlemen. How about one more question, and then I'm going to go. And even though my wife's not home, I'm getting.
Actually, John, you've already given us more time than you normally do, because you've always been gracious to us. Unless Aaron has another question, no, we're good.
We're good.
Sir, it's almost 2 hours.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
my dear friends, thank you again for having me on. Thank you for letting me plug Hofo.co and the Trek Talks 2 on January 14. For those of you who are listening now, because you weren't perhaps listening earlier, because people who we will not name screwed up, and somehow this was not actually going out to the full audience. Hofo.co, Hollywood Food Coalition, charity event to raise money, January 14, trektalksnet.net, if you want to kind of stay apprised, or hofoco.org to find out about our organization, which does a lot of work with people in need in Los Angeles. All right. And
John,
now,
great stuff. Thank you. And yes, go have it. Have a wonderful dinner. And we hope to be able to see you in the future again, and maybe at a convention as well.
Terrific. Aaron, very nice to meet you for the first time. And
nice to meet you as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Say hi to your partner, and congrats on all the good work. Keep it going.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, John. Right. Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolutely wonderful day for you, Aaron, but evening for the rest of us. I'm sorry, Michael. I blamed you indirectly, and you got the blame for it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I blame you, so that's fine. It's the way it works.
No, John blamed you, so that's.
I know he did.
So.
Well, that's because we've been emailing back and forth. That's why. So.
Yeah, you've been talking to him a lot more than I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've talked to him more.
No, but yeah.
Aaron, can you tell the insecurity between the two of us? Oh, mine's bigger. I mean, that's basically what we're doing right now. So I apologize. Aaron, I got to tell you, first of all, thank you for accepting our invite. Young man, I know we're switching gears fast, and I don't know how much time we have with you right now, but we're not going to take a lot of your time. The stuff that you're doing down there, I already talked about it. I've already said what I did. I respect and admire what you're doing. I can't wait to see what's coming. And that has nothing to do with the fact that it's Voyager themed. It's just, dude, you do good stuff. When I announced that you were going to be on, there were other people in my universe that knew who you were and were looking so forward, not only to the interview, but to the stuff that you do. That says a lot, young man. You have talent. It is a thrill to have you on. You're on with us each and every time you want to be. And why don't you give us an update on the next Star Trek stuff that we're going to have. I'm stupid. That's actually disrespectful. You know how I am. Do we have a little bit of news, Aaron?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me today and to talk with John. That was awesome. Yeah. But in terms of updating for film, so we've got one more coming out at the end of the year, hopefully. I'm just waiting for 2 more visual effects shots and the original music to be done. So
Oh, wow.
hopefully, ideally, middle to the end of this month, maybe.
Wow.
So yeah, and then that's it for the moment.
The only thing that we would ask, not that we're entitled, but if you
we're
could
entitled. Yeah.
let us know when you're going to make the announcement for it, so that we could maybe, I'm not saying simultaneously, but we would love to promote it as well. And as soon as the episode is out, we want to book you at your time, and we want to be able to talk about it. Young man,
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I'll
you
let
do
you know.
good stuff, dude.
Thank you.
I can't say it enough. I'm taken with your talent, your ability. Oh, and you also happen to be a cool dude too. But okay, all right.
Thank you.
I think I'm done
appreciate that.
embarrassing you. Okay.
I don't think I can go any more red. So
Aaron, I'm a fan, and the work that you do, and now I'm just generalizing in everything. It's you're taking us to play. I told you this already. You're taking us to places where we haven't gone, and that's a mark of a good storyteller.
thank you.
You know,
Thank you.
and
I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. It's
well,
great to have.
I do want to say it was kind of thrilling that I made an offhanded comment, and then you started to do something that I commented about. I mean, that blew me away. I'm like, holy crap! Someone listened to a suggestion. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to embarrass him anymore. You're the one doing the work, but it was really kind of neat. It was a snarky little comment. Then we started seeing it on your website, which is really kind of cool. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to say anything else.
He might. Do you know what he's talking about, Aaron?
No.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah, and it has to do with his production as well. We just within a week we noticed. I was like, holy crap! I mean,
He did what you
made
said.
my day. No, you didn't make my day. I kept the all summer. Oh yeah, so it's all good. Don't worry, it's not embarrassing, but we just I've already gone with it. So at the end of the month, maybe even in early December. However, we're really looking forward to it. Is there a tease, or we should go to your website, right, to see what's already out there? Because I think you have a promo shot, right?
Yeah. I've probably released once a week a promo shot from this new film. So yeah, if you go to our Facebook page, which is Voyager's Fan Film, it's got all details for that. But yeah, once the edit is completely locked and the music is in, we're ready to go. But at the moment, I'm just waiting for that before I set a date.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with Starship Excelsior?
Yes.
The audio? Yeah, the audio program.
Yeah.
James Haney? Okay. The executive producer wrote high praise for what you do.
Thank you very much.
It was a comment on my personal page. I like James a lot and the stuff that he does. His stories are really good. And I wonder what both of you could do together, man. Seriously.
I honestly need to get into listening to other people's stuff more and things like that as well. Like I feel like when you're in the fan film, when you're making a fan film, you're kind of in the bubble of just getting on and doing it. So I don't often interact with other people, but yeah, I definitely should do that more.
Let me be rude and suggest that one. I think that would be a match made in heaven. Both of you are talented people. And what was neat was, like I said, it was on my personal page. His comment about, he says, dude, I know his stuff. That's good stuff from down under. And I'm paraphrasing. So I hope I'm not embarrassing him as well. But yeah, it's what I do. So it's all right. Okay, fair enough. I like it. So looking out further, what are we looking at? Are we going to be doing Voyager for a little while?
No, so that's it. We're only doing 3 with Voyager. I think I found doing 5 was a bit too much, so I'm scaling it back to doing 3. So that's it for Voyager, and then we'll hopefully move on to do something else. But at the moment, I haven't decided what that will be. I think the last time we spoke, I was saying that I was supposed to be building a house, and then I was going to take a break and then come back to it. But that kind of fell through, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the future yet.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, Only 3. Okay, well, I'll take what I can get. So who knows? I was telling Michael about that earlier. I was like, so what's the news? Is he going to continue doing Voyager? Is he going to do DS9 after that or something? Nah, I don't think so. I'm like, okay. So you heard it here. We'll see what happens moving forward. All right. Is there anything else that you have for us? Any other news or something you want to talk about?
No, that was it. I just, again, thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you both, and to talk to John as well has been amazing. And yeah, I can't wait to go home and tell everybody.
Oh, you're funny. And for us, it's the other way around. We get to talk about interviewing and spending time with you. So,
thank you.
Yeah, even though we had you as a co-host, you're really a guest as well. But you have an open invite. You don't have to ask us. You know that, right? Yeah, you're in. Okay, if you want to show up at any time, you just go ahead.
Thank you.
So, just how? Hey, I'm in the chat room, fools, old guys, let me in. So it's all good. Okay,
I'm
Michael,
looking forward to future interviewees, so I can't wait for that.
Well,
we're working on it.
Aaron, I think you know how we do it now. They're not real interviews, man. They're conversations. You get me now, right? When I said that. Yeah, they're conversations. We don't do interviews here because number one, we don't know how to do them. Yeah, that was straight up honest. We don't. So we just have conversations. So we're good, but it's not about us anymore. Okay, Michael, I'm sorry. You did say something?
Oh, no, of course I didn't. No.
Okay, that was real. Okay. All right, I'm going to have to pay for that one. Okay, so then I guess we're going to call it at this time. I do want to thank everyone. And folks, we do apologize for the technical difficulties right now. I am concerned. I'm going to have to go in triage mode. I hope we don't lose the episode. I hope we don't lose the episode. So we'll see. We'll know in a little bit, but I want to thank you. But Hope did find it later.
Yeah, I think the YouTube one was fine. I think there were some problems with the Facebook one.
Okay. All right.
Since they switched the way they do Facebook, I think that's the problem. Okay. So that's been the last couple of weeks.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Sorry about that. So we're just belaboring it now, Aaron. Again, thanks, buddy. It really means.
Thank you.
And it's good. So your day's just starting. You want to? What's next on your agenda? What are you doing the rest of the day? Don't tell me you have to get back to work.
I have to get back to work. It's almost lunchtime, actually, so I'll have some lunch. I'm very excited.
Good for you. Actually, I think Michael and I are going to have a late dinner, but he's in Washington. I'm in Los Angeles. Young man, thank you. Enjoy lunch, and we're just going to end up. So I guess we'll just close it right now. Ladies and gentlemen, John Billingsley, a beautiful soul, a wonderful person. This is his 4th visit with us now, and he spends a lot of time. I was shocked that we crossed an hour and 30 minutes. He almost to the minute will give us 1:30. When he went over, I was like, oh, John, and sure enough, he beat me to it. So he's incredibly gracious with his time. Folks, if you want to donate, or to get involved, like John said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be involved with his program per se. But taking a step to just get involved, that's what changes everything. Folks, a tiny, tiny story today. When I was doing my poll work, my fellow poll workers were stunned at my enthusiasm because we had 2 brand new registered citizens and voters. And I was a kid in a candy store. Folks, it's about moments. It's about doing things. New voters, I know it's a little political, but that's a major moment in one's life. It was kind of cool, and I was happy to be a part of it. I donate. I volunteer my time, and it's cool. It's fun. It's being able to do it. But like John said, not political. Do things in your neighborhood. Do things around you. Do it with your friends, man. Little things like that, we're all better off for it. Sorry for the old man lecture, folks. All right. Michael, anything else? Otherwise, we're going to ask Aaron to end this program. We're going to ask him to take us away. Michael, anything?
No. We have some other guests in the
Well, that was good. We do have a few guests coming up. I guess we are having technical difficulties now. I'm very concerned. There he is. He's back. All right, come on.
Back.
Let's go, Michael.
Yeah, that was like
That was funny. You know what you did? You were going to go to the web page and you hit the wrong X.
well, I did something worse than that, but yeah.
You better not have hit end broadcast.
No, I didn't do that. No.
Okay.
But better check. I mean, but I don't think so.
We're live. It's okay. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah. Some days, you know.
Upcoming guests.
We have on November 21st, it's been confirmed, the writer-director of the movie River Road
Yes.
from Canada, Rob, I think it's Wiley. November 28th, producer-director of Zero Contact, Rick Dugdale. And I've watched that movie, and it was very interesting because it was filmed during COVID, and most of the actors never met each other. And the plot of the story is kind of that none of them interact with each other live. It's all over video. So it's a very interesting concept, and it's just interesting that all, worked.
Is that the one that we have the code for?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's another one. Sorry. Okay.
That's another one. Now that one, is that's the one that's the 21st.
Okay.
The River
Understood.
Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
River Road.
And then Saul Rubinek has rescheduled for December 12th from Warehouse 13. So he'll be
December
joining
12th,
us December
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
You know who he is, Aaron?
I actually don't.
The most toys with data. The collector.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yep.
And there's a story. I think you know the story behind that. He was a last-minute fill-in. Did you know that?
Yes.
For that episode. Yeah, he was a last-minute fill-in. Yeah, I think it was like the next day he had to be ready to go. So I'm sure he's told that story 3 million times. So we're going to have to make it 3 million and one. So lunchtime, buddy. Take us away.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thanks for joining us, Trekking Across the Universe.